Lady Vida Poet. I'm the host of the Do You Lyric Lounge right here at Urban Grind Coffee House. We're here every single second Saturday of the month from 6:30 to about 9:30. We're an open mic variety show that showcases poets and musicians and singers and all different kinds of artists in Atlanta. So definitely, if you're a member of our coffee group, it's meetup.com/coffee, COFFIE. You can come out and enjoy a very entertaining time with a bunch of entertaining artists right here in the Atlanta area. Once again, I'm Lady Vida Poet, and thank you so much for patronizing and just being so interested in the Do You Lyric Lounge.
This piece is about, losing someone. Anybody ever lost like a relationship or, y'all like eHarmony championship?
Hi, I'm Tracy Cruz, and welcome to Between the Line, the reason for the rhyme, exploring what's on the mind of the artist. And child, we got a treat for you. One of the queens of the spoken word scene, Miss Lady V.
Hello. Wonderful to have the opportunity to speak with the amazing Tracy Cruz.
Oh, Lord. I know who you are. I've been to some of your events. Let our viewing audience know who you are and what do you have going on.
Well, like she said, I am Lady Vida Poet, and I'm an event producer, I'm an author, and I'm also an event hostess for, live entertainment shows. We call them open mic variety shows. Because even though my name is Lady Vida Poet, I'm a spoken word artist or whatnot, we also open the stage up for singers and for musicians and for, hip hop artists and just any kind of talent you have. So I love the fact that, we have a place and we have a performance stage to open it up to all the creative performing artists. So it's kind of like our roster has just expanded with all these talented people in Atlanta and everything. But I started doing this back in 2005 in Augusta, Georgia, my hometown. Word up to Augusta, Georgia. But I've been living in Atlanta for at least about 12, 13 years. And I love the fact that I believe that everybody that has their own unique voice, they have a place to share it, and they have, it's kind of like a safe haven to, express themselves and have that outlet there.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, because we met a few years ago at Urban Grind, and your venue was very, very nice. Oh, hold on, someone is making an appearance. One of our hosts. Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. How are you, lovely ladies?
Doing
Good.
fine.
Yes, we started. I'm going to do this. Okay. I posed a question to. Oh well, no. I was getting ready to make a statement to Lady V. We met a few years ago at the Urban Grind, and the event was nice, and you were holding it down for a minute. And so, why do you do this? Why do you like spoken word? And do you remember the first poem you ever wrote?
Oh, wow. Let me go back in the archives, But I love spoken word because I call it the art behind emotion. It's just like, fiction writing and all types of writing, sometimes it's kind of like the facts only, but poetry puts that emotion into it. It lets you walk in the shoes of the person that actually wrote that piece. It's like you get to travel in time with them and see like how they felt when they wrote it. I love the fact that when you hear a spoken word piece, it's just like, man, I relate to that, or man, I felt that. It's like it's got a whole bunch of emotion in there. So, not to say that I'm an emotional drama queen or nothing like that, but I just love the.
You are.
All right.
But it's some people see poetry as healing. Some people see it as therapy almost. Have an outlet like that to share your emotions with other people. So that's why I love spoken word. My very first poem, I would say, is called "In the Midst of All the Quiet." And that was the first poem I ever memorized. It's kind of short or whatnot, but it's a rhyming poem. And, you know, everybody, they get along, they start snapping their fingers to it and everything. But I actually started writing back in 9th grade, if you can believe that. I mean, you know, back in 9th grade, they had the April National Poetry Month homework assignments or whatever. So I just started writing, and then I started getting up on stage at the library, and we had little shows there, you know, in 9th grade and, you know, first year in high school. And so I really fell in love with writing and sharing it with my friends during high school.
Okay. Do you remember the poem?
You know what's coming next.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know why you just didn't
I knew what was coming next. It was, do you remember? And can we hear a little something?
Of course. I mean, my husband, actually, he's a videographer, a graphic artist. He made a video of this poem like recently. And so, of course, I still remember the poem. So if y'all need any of those services, he does DJing and you know, graphic art, and he also does music videos. So definitely, you know, Allan Poe Productions, I got to plug him in there, of course.
Okay.
But, in the midst of all the quiet, you got to inner riot telling you to get up and break the silence, take a step, try to intercept, try to break the mold. Remember what the past untold. Learn from mistakes, reiterate, back up, let's try again. I'm looking out for true friends, I can count them all on one hand. Trust the chosen few that understand and comprehend what I'm going through. Try to find the meaning in the looking glass I'm looking through. Can you see the inner grief that's there looking back at me, wondering how to bring myself up out of this rut? Take a step out of line before my time runs completely out. I hear them shout across the fence with the greener grass. I try to sleep to let it pass, but it never fails. Dreams turn into fairy tales. Fear tells me not to go. What about an obstacle? What about what people think? What about my future goals? Shall I let them slip away? Wait another day, then the way to escape might be gone. I'd sing a sad song. Can't go along with what might have been. I want my now to be remembered in the end. Let me send this message out to you. Rise up from where you are to plan for what you could do.
Okay.
And so can you believe I wrote that in 9th grade?
Wow, that is amazing. The fact that you actually still remember that, one, even if you've recorded it recently, the fact that you still remember, and the fact that that is still relevant today.
Yes.
I mean, if you hadn't told me that, I had no idea that you wrote that in 9th grade. First of all, the mind you had back then to articulate what you just did from 9th grade, and the fact that here we are in 2020 and everything you said is still relevant.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I know I joined in late, but I wanted to know what's some of your inspiration, like what, you know, we talked about, I heard you talk about like how it makes you feel and poetry and the emotion behind it, but what is some of your inspiration, like even back then and even now as, you know, you continue, like what inspires you? Who inspires you?
I mean, back then it was a lot of observational poetry. It was a lot of, you know, 9th, 10th grade, you know, my boyfriend did me wrong, and you know, my best friend stole my backpack, and you know, just kind of stuff to get stuff off your chest. It's like I had a journal, and you know, my big sister, I got an older sister, she stole my poetry journal one day, I almost killed her. But you know, back in high school, you got that teen angst. You know, you can't, you know, yell at the person or whatever. You may be too shy to get those feelings out like that, but you can definitely write them in a poem. You know, don't never get a poet mad. They might write you in a poem.
Preach!
But you know, today is, I mean, if you are a poet, if you're a writer and you say that you don't have no inspiration today, then I'm going to raise an eyebrow at you, because it's like you can go outside and just be like, oh my gosh, you know, there's your inspiration right there. Or if you're sheltering in place, you can write about your quarantine life, or, you know, just turn on the news. Every day is like a news story to write a poem about. And it's like some people call poets like the newscasters of the streets or whatnot. It's just like they say the things that the media won't say, or they say things, you know, that the real news won't touch on or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, today you can't hold all those feelings on the inside. You got to get them out in a song. You got to get them out in a poem, you know, because if you carry them around, you're going to be angry all day long.
That is true.
People will come up missing.
People
seriously will disappear.
Seriously.
A poetic purge.
Yes. I mean, it's not all about anger till you have to get that joy out. You got to remember how
Yeah.
happy you are,
Yes.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
That angle as well. So definitely inspiration comes from all over the place, but you have to put your life in your poems.
That's true. And do you find you're writing more now just because of so much going on? You know, you talked about COVID. We've got a lot going on in the African American community with racism. I mean, the list goes on and on. So do you find yourself writing more due to the state of the world, or do you feel like it's about the same?
Well, I go through phases. So it's just like, you know, I try to balance it out. I never, you know, in the box. I never want to get up on stage like, oh yeah, I know what she's going to say. I know what type of poet she is.
Yep.
So, you know, you have to have kind of a wide portfolio, because I tell the artists even that come through to the shows, I'm just like, well, what if you are an erotic poet and like a child daycare wants you to come and say a poem at their you know, at their nursery school or something, you have no material. So it's just like, you know, it's good to be a well-rounded artist, so that way you have, you know, different material for different places.
Yeah, very true, very true. And I'm noticing the picture on the back. So you were talking about your husband and doing artwork, and I'm looking like, is that some of hubby's work? Like,
actually, no. That is actually the front cover of my very first poetry book. It's called Imagination Overload. And I forgot the lady's name, but she's living in like Hawaii right now doing paint and sips and stuff like that. She used to live in Atlanta, but she's an artist and she does like paint sip shows and stuff like that. And she actually painted that for me because that was the front cover of my book. I'm like, oh wow, I can carry that everywhere.
That is really nice. I know we were talking about your husband and some of the work he did. I was like, I wonder if he did that art piece in the back.
Now, he can paint and draw, but it's just like, you know, we keep those things underneath I mean, he went to a paint and sip and he actually surprised me, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were that good. But yeah.
Right.
He's a music producer, so music is his thing. I have like 5 music videos with him, and actually I'm working into like a new spoken word album that he's gonna do very, very, very soon.
Wow. So you mentioned that's from your first book.
Mm-hmm.
How many books do we have? And how can we find out about your books? Like, where can we find them? Where can we find your works? How many do you have first, and then where can we find them?
Let's see, there's Imagination Overload is all my books are on Amazon.com. So I mean, during quarantine, everybody's on Amazon. And so I always see the trucks going by, the Amazon Prime and everything. So if you type my name in, either Lady Vida Poet or Davita Williams, I mean, it'll come right up. But Imagination Overload is the first book.
I like the name of that. Where did you get that? Like that? I don't know. When you say that, I want to read it. It's like,
well, I'm a marketing major. I have a degree in business and marketing. So, you know, you got to have the right tagline to get your attention.
Yes.
Yeah, that is my first, Imagination Overload. And this is my second book, Ink Blots on I-20. And so, and you see, this is the I-20 East Side. I live in my hometown is Augusta, so I'm up and down I-20, and that's where I get my inspiration for this book. But this is my second poetry collection. And this is the third one, Still Fabulous, Your Inner Goddess After a Breakup.
Oh, I like.
Yeah, you see, she's free now. She's free.
Yes, I love the cover. Yes.
But this book was written like after I got married, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, break up!" I'm like, no, you have to let go of the ghost of your past in order to open yourself up for that new love. So yes, my husband is in this book, but he's the happy ending. So yeah. So out of it. Right now I have 4 different books, and one book I'm not really promoting that well, but I'm going to go ahead and just be honest about it. It's called Clenched Teeth Smiling, and I wrote that with an ex-boyfriend, so I'm really not like, you know, promoting that one at all. But, you know, we've moved on with other books, and, you know, if he wants to make profit off of that, then, you know, more power to him.
Now, are you self-published?
Yes, my first book is through authorhouse.com. And then I switched over to CreateSpace, and then Amazon bought CreateSpace. So it's just like, CreateSpace.com used to be like a big, really affordable self-publishing company, and then Amazon bought it. So it's like Amazon is like all over the place. So definitely they have lots of, more reach than a lot of the other self-publishing companies that I've seen. So I'm like, I'll stick with Amazon. I love the fact that they can give me a website and, international and all types of things.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So do you kind of do a collection of work, and based on like what the work you think about a title that brings it together, or how does that process work for you?
Well, each one of my books has kind of a formula to it. I always put 50 poems in my books, and it's life, love, heartache, art, and observations and reflections. So it's like whenever I put together a book, it's kind of a really long process, because I have poems written on the back of napkins, on the back of old bills, on the back of like just everywhere, and I had to put them into those categories. So once they get into those different chapters, it's easier to kind of make it more organized. Like I try to make my books like a journey. It's like, you start off with life, love, heartache, art, and then all the observations and reflections from all that stuff that you just read. So it's kind of like a journey through it. And at the end, it's like the grand finale.
This is called Be the Revolution. It's time to be the revolution that you're praying for. Kick down obstacles, open pathways and corridors. Take those risks that shake and keep you awake at night. Turn darkness to a bright and gleaming flashlight. Tell them haters that the past is done and over with. Build a crew that builds up with encouragement. Today and tomorrow, I look forward to the steps ahead. I'm on a path and my whole life is faith-led. God is working behind the scenes for my victory. I find favor in only what he chooses best for me. First 2 steps are the hardest, but they're necessary. They lead you exactly where you ultimately need to be. Society's lies tell me that I'm going to be held back. My education and intellect cause mental attack. Always 2 steps ahead while you're 5 miles back. Negativity, just go ahead and cancel that. Because it's time to take charge of them dreams of yours. It's time to be the revolution that you're praying for. Kick down obstacles, open pathways and corridors. Make your reality a lot more than just what you're hoping for.
Wow. Well, I will be on Amazon to check you out. I'm excited. I mean, just the title alone, and then seeing the graphics, I'm like, whoa, this sister is bad.
Then you have a nice, thick anthology whenever you need, the full collection of Lady V, the poet. But I have a question. I mean, going in a slightly different direction. Now, since everything is opening back up, so will you be having any physical open mic sets, or you still going to do virtual? Or now, since the virtual's been opened up and it's boundaryless, are you going to do a combination?
Well, right now we are definitely online, like throughout the whole end of June we'll be online. You can go to Do You Lyric Lounge Virtual Open Mic Experience. That's a Facebook group. And so right now I think we have like 182 different people in that group, and most of them are artists. But like, I love the fact that some of them are artists and some people are just, people that love the arts. It's like, you can't have just a whole group full of artists. You have to have people to clap and snap too.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that there's some people there that aren't poets or they aren't singers themselves, but they just love the art and they love to support and everything. It's like, it's kind of sad that some artists don't support other artists. It's just like we get in a whole room full of book authors. They're standing at the table. They're like, nobody's buying my books because they all write books too. But it's always cool when you have people that are there just to like enjoy the art and they're the ones that support it. But definitely next month, because Governor Kemp, he put his executive order online. And it's like, we can't have no shows until after July the 1st. He says. So I'm like, I don't want nobody, I don't want a cop coming up in there like, oh, you ain't supposed to be here.
Yeah, but you can go get a tattoo if you want.
Yeah,
and you can get nails done. You can go to the salon if you want to do that. But
we definitely I mean, we have an event space actually in Jonesboro. It's like the Jonesboro Fayetteville area, and the
Mm.
event space is for we have like 30 chairs in there, a stage, and all my husband's music production, sound equipment and a sound booth and everything. He does, like music production there. So I mean, people have actually been calling me like, can I rent your place out and can I bring my 20-person gathering there or whatnot, because they want to stand up on stage and talk about their book, and all those 20 people are going to buy their book when they leave the stage. It's just like, it's the perfect setup. But yeah, definitely, we're going to, our first event next month is July the 12th. And then like probably near the end of July, like going into 1st of August, we'll be having our own events, probably at our event space, because Hodgepodge Coffee House is still closed for, dine-in, types of gatherings and things. You can take out and pick up from there, but our second Saturday venue, they're not allowing anybody to actually have an event there. And so I'm just waiting on her to make that decision.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
How
that's
has it been? I'm wondering, like, I think about other event spaces and moving to a virtual world, right? And, thinking about even the DJs that have gone live. And it's like, it's almost like a new world. And people are like, oh, this is our new normal, So have you found that transition between being able to be out like you're used to and now doing things virtually? I mean, I know for me personally, I miss that people to people interaction. Like, this is great that I can see you guys. So that's a nice compromise, right? But it's nothing like being there in the energy and in the space. So have you found like transitioning to like doing things virtual has had like a big impact, or are you feeling like it's still like the same vibe and what you guys said in terms of, how you guys like have your and whatnot? Sorry,
Well,
my
I mean,
phone's ringing.
when it first, like my quarantine started the middle of March. Like we had
Yes.
our last coffee house show the second Saturday of March. And I went kind of in a slight depression about it, because I'm just like, man, Lady V Productions LLC is an event production company. I'm like, this is what I built my, whole thing around. And now, I can't gather people together because it's not safe. Or now, the government isn't allowing me to do what I'm passionate about and do what I love to do. I love hosting shows. I love, hosting big events. I don't know how to promote small. It's just like, I'm trying to get, 100 people out there, and now it's like, okay, 10 people only. I'm like, what? And so, in the beginning, like at the end of March, I'm like, man, my husband will tell you that I was just like, I want to, network with these artists. I want to, provide them a stage and have people, actually come up, and I miss hugs. Like poets are big huggers.
Yes, I know.
Now you gotta like fist bump and
Now you got a
like
virtual hug. Yeah.
Wakanda forever.
Exactly.
So I mean, when I think it was like the first week of April. April is National Poetry Month, and you're telling me I can't have a spoken word show in April, National Poetry Month? Oh my gosh! But I bit the bullet. I'm like, hey, I can get on Instagram, I can get on Facebook, just make sure everybody's connection is well or whatever, and I can still help these artists. If they got a book, if they got a CD, they can show it just like I showed you mine here, and say your website or say where you can find it and all this type of thing. But I mentioned like the 21 things that an event space has to do in order to open up. We're working on those things now. It's like we bought hand sanitizer stations, we bought disposable masks, we bought we're in the market for a no contact thermometer. So it's just like, the things that you need, that the cops or the government say you need, we're trying to put that in our event space, so that way we'll be able to gather together and nobody will be sitting there like, oh, don't cough on me. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is different, especially being in that type of a field. And it's a huge transition. And you find that there have been a lot more different platforms where people are finding ways to do things virtually, having virtual parties, virtual happy hours. I even saw, I think I saw online where there was a concert and people like parked their cars. It was like an outdoor thing, and they parked their cars, and it's like a concert outdoors. You're in your car parked. And I'm like, wow.
Someone actually, I'm on Gig Salad that's like a website where you can find poets or singers or for whatever for your event. And a lady contacted me. She's like, well, can you do a show for me at the cemetery? I was like, at the what? It was just like, you know, at first I'm like, what are you talking about? But she said, everybody's going to be in their car at the cemetery. We're having a memorial for my grandmother, and I want you to come and do a poem. I was like, oh my goodness. You know, I said, well, if it's virtual, I can do that. You know, I can send you a video or whatever, but I just wasn't comfortable parked in my car doing a poem at a cemetery at night. I was like, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. We're definitely in a new world, but I love the fact that you guys are preparing for this event in July and you're taking all the right precautions, because those are the things that people are going to want to know. People that are still afraid to get out, and, you know, especially with our numbers not going down, they continue to go up. And then you've got to be afraid of, you know, if you get caught up by the police while you're out, you know, it's like all these layers, COVID and everything else going on in the world. So, you know, but this is the time where we do need to have more love, more gatherings where possible. So it's great that you guys are providing that platform and getting everything in place so that you can have a venue, of a forum to gather. That's amazing.
Like, you know, Six Flags opened yesterday.
I heard. Look, my son told me, Mommy, you can make a reservation. Six Flags. I was like, how is that working?
I mean, I could tell all the poets, even online, they'll mention is like, you know, we miss the coming together, and then, you know, you go to the venue to see your favorite poet or whatnot.
Yes.
You don't know if it's online or not, but you know where they're going to be if they're at the venue featuring that day. So we're definitely trying to make sure that, you know, when we do open up, people feel welcome like they always do, and it's not going to be like a big awkward type of thing.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so you're a poet. You're a writer. Have you written, like, have you thought about writing a novel or like a screenplay? And if so, what genre or what subject matter would you address?
I thought about writing a screenplay because I have a lot of friends that are screenplay people. And so it's just like, if I didn't know how to do it, I know that I could ask them, like, you know, what's the technique to even do that. It's just like, I love having mentors when it comes, if you don't know how to do something, then, you know, go ask somebody that's done it successfully before you. That's like the motto. But my sister actually is a novel writer, and I edited her novel. And after I edited, I'm like, no, I don't want to write a novel. It's like, you know, it's very meaty, very, you know, the details, it was a lot of work to even edit it. So it's just like, if I was going to write, if I'm going to write something like that, it's going to be really short. It's going to be like a short story or something. But a novel is just kind of, you have to have the patience for that. And you have to have the, you know, my sister's an awesome novel writer, but I don't think that's the road I'm going to take. But definitely, like, I know a lot of poets, like Camila Montgomery is a friend of mine, and she's done like 2 or 3 very successful stage plays. And, you know, when I went to she put like a lot of poets in her stage plays and everything like that. And it's like, if I was going to do a play, it would definitely be about relationships, because poets, they go through a lot of some people say don't date poets because they're very emotional people and everything. I think that would be an interesting thing to watch, like maybe a screenplay about dating a poet.
Yeah, what's her name? Sylvia Plath, and how she was just, I watched Gwyneth Paltrow portray her, and I was like, this woman was intense.
Yes. And so, I mean, in a stage play, you have to show the extreme. So it's just like, you know, that might be like a really entertaining thing to watch.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about, while you're talking about love, you and your husband being like a team, and him doing the arts and whatnot. So is your company together, or you kind of got your business and he's got his, and you guys come together on different projects?
Well, I'm going to try to turn the camera to his side of the room, if you can see. This is his logo up on the wall over here. It's like all his music equipment and all his soundboards and everything like that. While I'm working from home, he's like doing all this music like right next to me. I'm just like, thanks a lot. You know, soundtrack of my life. But his company is called Allan Poe Productions Entertainment Music Group. So the real unique thing about our shows is that he plays all independent artist music at the shows. It's nothing from the radio. It's people that's like on his record label. And a lot of times, like, the people that come to the open mics, they're hip hop artists, they're musicians, they're singers, and then later on he'll get a business card from my husband, he'll produce a CD for them. So it's just kind of like, you know, it started off me just doing poetry shows, then it opened up to like the singers want to come and the hip hop artists want to come and the musicians want to come, and then they look over at him like, you're a music producer, you can, you know, make me a CD, you can, you know, give me a website or what. I mean, he does all the promotion and he like makes original music with them, so it really blends together very well.